Hey everybody, thank you for joining us as we introduce ourselves and tell you a little bit about the Nom Nom project. From the World of NomNom itself to our TCRPG Nom Nom verse. Joining me is my fellow co-founders Johnny Dunn and Tessa Jones.
How's it going, guys? I'm Johnny. You may know me as Moldy Potion. My brother and I did videos for Meta Bros on YouTube where we play TCGs and video games together. And this is the first TCG where I've actually gotten to get my hands in and help design the mechanics. And I am so proud of what we've done. Can't wait to talk more about it.
Hey guys, I'm Tessa Jones, Tarana Tessa on Instagram and all the other socials. I've been a card collector my whole life. It's always been a dream to have my art one day on those cards, and that's what I'm doing here in the World of NomNom and NomNomverse. And yeah, super excited to show you guys the whole world and how it plays.
All right, and with the introductory over, let's run it.
Victor, why don't we get started with you telling us a little bit about the World of NomNom?
Yeah, so the World of NomNom has been a brain baby of mine for quite some time. As an artist, I have interest in many different genres and fandoms that, I was kind of all over the place at first. I needed a place where I could throw all my ideas into and it makes sense. Thus, the birth of Nom Nom. And so, what is Nom Nom exactly? Nom Nom is a world between the crossroads between universes and dimensions. So, I have this saying, "All doors lead to Nom Nom," and what that means is Nom Nom is so ancient and has been around for so long that it has hosted as a home to many different civilizations throughout eons upon eons of time. And so, buried underneath all the different layers of Nom Nom is a bunch of different oddities from a bunch of different time periods, ranging from both primitive to hyper advanced civilizations. Um, and so, you have this planet that, you know, is home to a lot of different creatures and things. Mostly, at first, it was a lot of the things that I was interested as an artist. Kaiju, dinosaurs, robots. Martial arts. And everything else in between. But I always felt like, as an artist, I needed to develop the skill of being able to stick to a project, which can be harder than it looks. Through my experience in the TCG world and doing art for TCGs, you need that skill. You need to be able to, repetition. You need to be able to continuously work on some of the same things. Which can be somewhat of a drag, but you know, it's just like anything. Once you get used to it, you pick it up. But so that was my main concern and how Nom Nom actually came to life at first was I needed a place that could be host to all these chaotic elements and I've always been a fan of good storytelling, and I always say that a good story can explain anything, you know. And so, yeah, I needed a place that had dinosaurs, kaiju, robots, martial arts, and everything else in between. And Nam Nam is that world.
Yeah, it's been really cool for me to watch the thing come together. I'm a world builder as a hobby. I just love to learn about and help people to expand their worlds and kind of bake in the mechanics and the physics and make things that really like kind of a sense of cause and effect. I think is really important to have in a world, and especially a world like Nom Nom where anything can happen and anything can be there. For all we know, things from Earth may have ended up falling through a portal into Nom Nom,
Maybe I'm
along with
not.
infinite other worlds. Yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool, and that's what got me hooked on the project personally, was just the diversity of the game and of the creatures and the nomsters, and um, the story of these kaiju that attack this massive city, Mount City, that looks like a mountain from the distance because it's so huge, and regularly gets attacked by kaiju. And so they have kaiju hunters there that kind of work. Think of it like firefighters, or Ghostbusters, who are staying in the station and getting called out to help the city. That's what's going on with the kaiju hunters, and that whole plot to me is just so cool. I can't wait to get more into the specifics about Ralph and Zoe and some of our characters who are actively working in the kaiju hunting industry. Um, but that's only the tip of the iceberg with Nom Nom. There's also adventurers and explorers and artificers and all these amazing elements that have all kind of combined together into this world, and it's all brought to life so beautifully by Victor and Tessa's art.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of us, the three of us especially, have come from a place where you grow up playing video games, like RPGs specifically. I've just been like my whole life so fascinated in the character creation process that when I start a video game, I'm like spending hours and hours just on making my character. Because it's like, who do I want to be in this world, and like what are what's my background?
Decisions matter.
They matter, yeah, but then when you're in Nom Nom, it's like you get to be so many different things. And I think for me, like the fact that I'm in a field now where I'm able to have this world that like I've had a part in creating, and like I get to explore it so close, right? Like I'm so close to it. Um, really drives me in this project, and I'm super excited to get everyone else involved. And I mean, it's already like if you're part of our Discord community, you've gone in and you've picked a job that most seems to suit you. Like you're a chef, you're an adventurer, you're a kaiju hunter. It's already been super, I think, interactive and exciting for people, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which, to add on to that, Tessa, is one thing I was always very adamant about was getting everybody involved. I wanted everybody to get that feeling or sensation that they could reach out and touch Nom Nom, and change it and have an effect on it. And I believe even in our early stages, we've allowed people to do so through
Yeah.
our art contest, which is something we plan to continue to do. So um, we always want Nom Nom to be open to everybody. It it's a world with a lot of real estate, and I always say that there is no bad idea. Like, um, you just, like I said, it's all about, the cause and effect and the storytelling and the why. Um, because in a world like Nom Nom, you can have samurai and ghost and gunslingers and that all ride on dinosaurs and you know um literally, the limitations of Nom Nom are kind of as far as your imagination will take you. So, um, as we build up our community and stuff, more and more, I feel like it's gonna just be a beautiful playground where all of our imaginations go to play,
Yeah.
and it works because it's in a you know Johnny and I have like set up the foundation to where you know the rules, if there are any, don't have to make sense. We can figure out the storylines and the plots and the right areas to plug these ideas into, because when you have a world with this much real estate, we got to fill it up with stuff.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, like you said, I feel like the Nom Nom project, one of the beautiful things is it's not just our creation. We're the ones who are doing the most of the work right now, but already the community has helped us to come up with new Nomster ideas and even some location ideas and things like that. Um, and that's going to continue. So if you're a creative person who also nerds out on world building, or huge Lord of the Rings fan, or Naruto shonen fan, or whatever you may be, you can create something that lives in Nom Nom, and we may officially acknowledge it. That's one of the fun things. We want you to feel like you can influence this world, just like human beings influence life on Earth. Everything comes to Nom Nom and has an effect. Think of it like all these things coming through doorways. Some of them could be like invasive species that might rapidly change the landscape of the whole world once they come in. What happens if you throw in a virulent, toxic plant that lived on a world where it barely had food and evolved to be able to survive on so little, and then it arrives in Nom Nom and there's food everywhere and the soil is rich and this thing just goes crazy, and maybe it even becomes a kaiju. That's how things can work in the world of Nom Nom, and I think that's really cool. It's definitely a creative world that was built by artists for artists and for gamers to be able to immerse themselves in and play. What is a TCRPG is a good place to start.
Absolutely.
So why not start at the beginning? Because there's a lot of elements that went into the creation of the world of Nom Nom, but the world of Nom Nom, as as it goes, like how did that become Nom Nom Verse, which is our TCRPG, our trading card role playing game, because we are trying to shake things up a little bit and create something new and innovative here. But
Definitely.
where did it all begin? I mean, 2 years ago, when I left my previous job in the TCG industry, um, I was asking myself a lot of questions. What's next? What do I do? And obviously, you ask any artist what projects they have going, and I'm sure you'll get an earful. Every single artist out there probably has a few projects they're working on, a few ideas, unfinished ones, and I'm no different. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, stories I wanted to tell. Johnny Tessa, you've heard quite a bit of these ideas, from my 13th Zodiac to, the stories of Soul and all that. So, it was like, what's next? What do I pick up next? And it was almost a no-brainer. I did have all these projects I'm in love with and always intend to return to, but Nom Nom was the one that was just like, come, take me off the back burner. Come on, you want to. And so um, before my work within the TCG industry, I had been working on Nom Nom, and I had a very similar approach. I wanted people to be involved. I wanted people to feel like they had avatars that corresponded with them. It wasn't quite what it is today, but some early supporters will tell you and show you some old sketch cards of mine that I did, that incorporated their ideas, their characters. And so Johnny, Tessa, you guys joined me, slightly different times, but both kind of from a interest standpoint of, like what's Nom Nom, and so like Johnny, when you came in, you originally came in as just a writer. You were
Yep.
going to just help me develop, because we didn't know what we wanted it to be. It wasn't necessarily a trading card game at that point in time. And so, we had all these grandiose ideas at the time, and a lot of things have changed since then. But for the most part, one thing that I feel like stayed true was, just the overall essence of Nom Nom and, the world itself. That never really changed, though. The thing we were gonna do with this world did change quite a bit. But I feel like, we went through a bunch of different stages, and then eventually we sat ourselves down and we were like, what are we good at? What do we know? What do
Right.
we, and we were all in agreement. It was, we know trading card games, we know gaming, we know trading card games, and we all had like similar inspirations, growing up, from Final Fantasy games to Zelda. We had very similar childhoods. So once we arrived at the idea of trading card game, um, I don't know, what would you guys say? I feel like it was a very natural process where it just came together so flawlessly. And I think one of the best evidence for that, Johnny, was when you finally came out to Minnesota with me and we test played it for the first time.
Yeah,
It wasn't without its flaws,
of
but we
course.
had a game, and it was pretty crazy. It ran smoother than I think both of us anticipated.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, when we decided to go the TCG route, like you said, it was because of how well we know TCGs. I mean, I've done years of content on TCGs. I've played Magic the Gathering and Pokemon for most of my life. I played some of the old games back in the day, like Legend of the Five Rings and, stuff like that. So that comes with strong opinions about how I think TCGs should operate, because it feels like when you play a game for a long time, you start to see its shortcomings. You kind of see, like, for instance, in Magic, and I love Magic, but everybody knows Magic now. Everybody knows the game, and most card games are just kind of copying Magic the Gathering because it's such a great system that Richard Garfield designed. But we didn't want to do that same thing. That was a point I think we all agreed on, was like, we don't want to just do a TCG like everybody else does it. What are TCGs missing? And we were also all players of tabletop RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, Numenera, these amazing games that are so diverse and give you all these choices. The choices were what was really key to me, because many TCGs, if you've played it competitively, it becomes very formulaic. They play that card, I must now play this card, which means they must now play that card. That type of mentality. And we wanted to add more choice to where you felt like it was more of role playing, like you were almost telling a story as you played the game. And so as we built out NomNomverse, we combined elements of trading card games and RPGs, which is why we call it a TCRPG. Because when you watch the game get played, to be honest, it kind of reminds me of a video game, which was very much one of the goals, was to capture that retro nostalgia of, like the SNES and PS1 RPGs that we all grew up playing. And so we took some of those elements and kind of baked it all together. And where we ended up was very impressive. Like Victor said, when we first played it, we were like, oh, we got something here. This isn't just an idea. This is an incredibly fun and unique game. And so from that alpha test, we then went into beta testing and kind of we renegotiated power levels and kind of effects and tweaked things as we saw they needed fit. And then we went into beta testing, and beta testing was incredibly smooth. I mean, really only a couple things have needed to be shifted during beta testing, which I think is a great sign that we have a strong foundation here. So let me give you guys a little breakdown of how NomNomverse actually works. So the NomNomverse TCRPG is a 2-player game right now, where each player has 5 sectors of a dungeon, and you line those sectors up so it's a 10-room dungeon. And each of your goal is to get your party of 3 champions through that dungeon to the end, the final sector where there is a boss waiting. Whoever defeats the boss first wins. But that's not the only way to win the game. You can also defeat the opposing party with your nomsters. And nomsters they're like your monsters in the dungeon, roaming around like a little army of creatures who you can stall and oppose the other party with, try to frustrate their plans. And if you get lucky, maybe even take them out. So whoever defeats the boss or defeats the party wins. And on that track, you've got items to equip. Your champions will generate experience when they rest, which becomes your resources. So as you do more things, you gain more resources to let you strengthen your characters. You can level up your characters, which always makes me so happy. Level up's one of my favorite words. And you can kind of frustrate the opponent's strategies by adjusting if you're focusing on taking out the boss or if you want to focus on taking out the party. And what it becomes is a game that feels kind of like an RTS, like a real time strategy, where you kind of have to make the decision early. Do I want to focus on base building? Do I want to strengthen my party, level them up, equip them, get them to maximum power, and then charge towards the boss? Or do I just want to bum rush this and try to get right to that boss and cause problems, but maybe get trapped and lose your party in the process, you know? So it it's a very diverse game, and the choices are numerous. Cards also have action points, which tell you how many actions that card can take before it has to rest or before you have to tap it, if you want to think of it like that. And so you have choices. You don't just attack with a card. You can move with a card. You can move forward or backward. There are attacks. There are also abilities. And if you want, you can just rest that card to get the XP. So you always have options. I think Victor would agree. When we built the game, one of our big intentions was you'd never have a dead turn. You would never just draw your card for the turn and go, "Yep, your turn," which happens a lot in other TCGs. But in NomNomverse, the choices are there because you don't need that land card or the resource card. There are no resource cards. Everything is generated passively in the game, and that encourages you to do more, which really just, I'm telling you, no two games are the same, and every game tells a story. It's really incredible when you get to the boss battle and you're like, I'm about to finish this, but that boss might just stomp you. So,
Yeah. I think
yeah.
the great thing about this game too, I mean, there's so many great things, but the fact that it is kind of tailored to anybody. Like if you take me for example, I didn't grow up playing Magic the Gathering, but I grew up playing, the old school Pokemon games where you have to go through the Elite Four. And if you're trying
Yep.
to, you can't just go without being prepared. You have to kind of level yourself up, get your Pokemon to be a certain level too, or else you're gonna be get the right items, or else you're gonna be screwed when you get to that point, right? Um, but it also tailors to people who haven't ever played TCGs before. Like, it's listening to Johnny talk. It seems like there's a lot of options, and there is, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels kind of free in a sense because it's like you're learning how to play the game, and it's like, oh, can I do this? And it's like, yeah, great idea, you can. Like that's cool that you figured that out so quickly. And coming from me, not having that such a strong background like these guys, it having those cards in my hand and knowing that I can do this and that, it feels really really good. So I think that
Yeah.
if you're picking up a game for the first time, it's your first tabletop game or it's your first TCG that you're playing, I think that Nom Nom is the perfect place to start.
Which comparatively to like other TCGs, a whole deck can be structured around one strategy. Um, where NomNomverse I think differs the most is our decks will be built around numerous strategies, flexible strategies. Like we've been saying, you're not kind of confined to drawing that one card that you need to where, oh, I didn't draw it, pass turn. No, that doesn't happen. You can still, you have flexibility with how you conduct your strategies and how tactical you need to be. It's like almost like a chess game where, um, like I can still execute a certain amount of my strategy, but now I have to play defense or go on the offense and stuff. So the game, I think, is gonna constantly evolve as you play it. It's not gonna be, this and there's definitely gonna be players out there to prove all of us wrong. But I don't believe like we've designed the game to be like, oh, you need this card, this card, this card, this card, and this card to win. No, you can win with any of the cards in whatever strategy you want, and it really comes down to the player and knowing what's in their deck, it's definitely on on the fly type strategy, not I need to pull this card. No,
No.
it's once you got your champions in play, and you just got to start leveling them up, and then it's all about, do I play offense, do I play defense, am I just being passive right now, what, and the dungeons and the field is going to constantly change, and things that you can't anticipate as well. So boom, there you go again. You're having to on the fly change up your strategy, and I think that's what's going to really set us apart as a TCRPG. I think, no, even if you don't change your deck, I don't think you'll ever play the same game twice.
Yeah.
um, your dungeons are going to be set up in different order. You're going to start off with a different champion. Um, so the tempo of our game is going to be really chaotic but streamlined at the same time.
Yeah, there's a one of the things that I hear most from testers and from people who I've now been teaching to play, is that there's a flow, a very nice flow to the game. And that, like any board game, the first time you play it, you're like, how's this work? Monopoly, first time you play it, how's this work? And you got to kind of learn the rules. Risk, same thing. You got to absorb the rules. But once you do and you know the game flow, it's easy. You can sit down and play it any time. And Nom Nom is very similar. It is very unique. So the first time you see it, you're like, wow, this is different. And then as you play it, everybody gets hooked. Everybody gets hooked because it's addicting. It's so unique. It's so fun. And every game is different. And you think about the things you could have done differently. Like I've lost games because I didn't do the full move that I could have with that card. Say that card could have moved 3 spaces, and I decided to just move it 2 spaces because I felt like that was a strategic move. And then later in the game, I realized, oh, if I would have moved that third space, I could have made it to the boss. I could have taken the boss out, and instead now I'm a sitting duck while they're taking care of my boss. So it's a really cool game where you do constantly think about these adjustments. And Victor, I think you nailed it with flexibility is the word. The decks that we see win the most in testing are flexible decks that can adjust their strategy on the fly and not be fully committed to one thing, one combo that's going to get them the game, but being able to look at the opposing board and go, he's moving into my boss pretty quick. I think I need to focus on attacking the party instead, and it just creates such diverse gameplay. Speaking of which, like we're saying here, there is going to be a lot of competitive nature behind this game. It is a casual game. You could definitely play it with your family and friends, especially your RPG and tabletop friends. I think everybody's going to love this, but we will be endorsing officially competitive play at both the LGS store level and online. For now, through Tabletop Simulator, we do have a free mod that's available that you can try a demo with a limited card pool and see how the game works. The rule book is also out, so you can check that out and see how the different mechanics work. And down below, you'll see that we have a learn to play video if you want to check that out. But we definitely want to support LGSs. LGSs get so little love right now from TCGs. I've seen it, everybody's seen it, because the direct to consumer model is becoming the new model. But what that does is it leaves LGSs sitting dry and wondering how they can make money on boxes or how they can encourage players to show up when the company gives them very little love. So we want to change that. We want to be very focused on LGSs and in-person play, and even providing official prizing, and maybe even some of us showing up for some of those events to hang out, play with people, sign cards, and just make it fun for everybody, because TCG it's all about the community. And without the LGS, you don't have the place for the community, So I feel like that's so important. But some people can't make it to an LGS, so we will have online games as well through TTS. I can't wait to see the competitive meta start to form. Victor and I talk about that all the time. Like, who's going to rise to the top? Who's going to make that deck where you're just like, whew, I don't know how this thing loses. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure somebody's going to crack it eventually, and we'll just have to release some more cards to frustrate them.
Yeah, which just to give you guys an idea of like how we plan on releasing sets and expanding on the game is, we understand this is somewhat uncharted, waters as far as what a trading card game can be. We are very confident, but we know that there are going to be people out there that are going to try to break the game, or find the most meta elements of each set And what we plan to do is kind of treat it kind of like an online game, similar to um, League of Legends, for instance. If you guys have played a MOBA, or really any type of online game at this point in time, you can there's like a certain element to each of these games where people find what's really good, and um, the creators of the game have to do something about it. So you see updates and you see things get nerfed and some things get buffed, to create balance. And we plan on doing our sets similar to that, where um, each set is going to feel like an update to the game. Obviously new content. You get to see more of the world of NomNom, but not just that. You'll get to finally see new cards that can compete with things that might be dominating the 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 circuit at that point in time. So how we plan to remedy this is constantly preserve balance with each set we release. Address things from the old set, add some new elements that we will address in later sets, so the game is going to constantly evolve in a way that feels really natural to the growth of not just the world, but the game itself and the community that plays it. And we plan to listen to every single one of you guys as we grow as a game. And so I think that this will be a very good way to like I said, keep things balanced. And we also plan to do drops, like kind of like one big set, towards the beginning of the year, and then 1 to 3 smaller sets that are providing updates. Like I said, updates. Some things are getting nerfed, some things are getting buffed, and each of these miniature sets will kind of accomplish that.
Yeah, that's our way of controlling it. We're going to try to avoid banning cards if we can. I think it's an effective approach, but lately we've seen other games try to just uh, manipulate the game, like Victor's talking about, where if one deck is winning because it's got these couple of cards that are just a deadly combo, we have to make a killer for that. We have to make a card that's going to shut down that strategy, and that's going to show up in the mini sets. So yeah, expect a big core set each year that will, like Vic said, will be new areas, new abilities, all new kind of cards, and then that set to get filled out with these mini sets throughout the year that tweak it as we see the meta developing. I always want to keep things interesting for you guys in terms of the effects. As a really serious TCG player, I've played professionally and competitively for years, so I see how these things kind of go in the TCG world, and I think as long as you pay attention and, like Vic said, you listen to your players and you watch the games and you see what's happening, you can steer that meta the way that you want it to go. So I'm very excited to start to introduce. We've got so many ideas for future sets, guys. By the way, we're like, hang on, let's focus on this, do this set right, and then get excited and start moving into the next set. And that's not the only thing we want to do with the game either. We do have larger project ideas on the roadmap for the future. But before I get into that, let me just say that one of our big mottos here at NomNom is don't brag about it until it's real. A lot of companies will try to sell you on this huge roadmap up front, like with the Kickstarter, saying like, you're funding all of this and we're going to end up with an animated series and a video game and all this stuff. And we want to stay focused on the TCG for now. We do have ideas to move into bigger projects, but just so you know, our focus is the TCG. And once that's off the ground, in the air and flying, you'll see us working on a comic book, which Victor and I have already been mapping out the arc for, and I cannot wait to get more into that. And we also talk about doing animated music videos and perhaps an animated series and a video game at some point. these are things we want to get into, just keep in mind that this Kickstarter is for the game for now. We want to focus on the TCRPG and really introduce people to that because it's so amazing already and so unique. But for those of you who are wondering, am I going to get a comic book? Am I going to get a video game in Nom Nom? That's definitely something we plan on doing. And as we bring that into reality and we have actual things to show you, you will hear about it through us on the Discord. I'm sure we'll be posting it everywhere.
Yeah, and I guess to speak to that a little bit, something you're going to see a little earlier than the rest of those things is as we develop the game, we want to introduce figures, perhaps, is something we were talking about. Just to make it feel a little bit more. It's already super interactive and fun, but just to have your little character with you, that's something that we're definitely talking about too. And if we get to the point that we're aiming for, we might see that as early as the Kickstarter.
Yeah, figurines are a big thing for us because in the game you are moving dice. That's our base tracker, or call it a marker for where your cards are, because you can't just move a card along there's not room. Yeah. So what we do is you place your cards into slots, party slots, nomster slots, and then you place a dice on the board that marks where that party member or where that nomster is. But those dice are just the basic marker. We really want to get into custom markers, standees, figurines, and eventually do some really high level figures for Nom Nom, just because honestly, Victor and Tessa have such cool designs that these things really should be immortalized in statue form, in my opinion.
I agree.
It would certainly be cool, and I know one of our goals was to reach into other demographics as well. Obviously, we're definitely going to appeal to the trading card game community, but we also wanted to grab hold of the attention of tabletop gamers as a whole, because we know that figurines and all of that could really entice some of those other tabletop gamers in a way that, really grows the game. And grabbing hold of all these new players and stuff, I think is huge. And I think the figurines could be a big part of that, because for the simple fact is we just don't play like other trading card games. There is this whole very hands-on element to it that could only be enhanced by collectible figurines and stuff, ranging from hand-painted ones that people do to, ones that come a little bit more finished and whatnot. But
right.
Definitely something we're all interested in and would like to push that agenda through the success of the Kickstarter. And one thing I wanted to add about the Kickstarter is we are all very adamant about, like Johnny stated, we have all these ideas and stuff, but we're focusing on the TCG. So one thing we're all adamant about is, every dollar that is donated to this Kickstarter will be going into the trading card Nom Nomverse to enhance Nom Nomverse to its fullest potential upon release. So, if you guys just go above and beyond in your support, then you'd see these figurines a lot sooner. You'd see, the whole 9 yards, game boards, standees, figurines, possibly a taste of what an animation could be like in a somewhat promotional type AMV / commercial for the Nom Nomverse game. All of these things are very possible, but we just are very adamant about letting you guys all know that every dollar is just going to go towards enhancing this game to give you guys the best, cleanest, sweetest, shiniest product we can. And so But yeah, all our focus will be going into the game itself first.
That is
But
that's one of the big reasons why I'm so excited to work with Victor and Tessa and to be on this project, because none of us are in this for a quick paycheck. None of us are in this to have a cool campaign that's a flash in the pan and then we take the money and go on with our lives. This for us is a dream. All of us have wanted to make a game and to bring joy and fun into people's lives and to do it the right way. And if you've been following us on Discord, you'll see that we are very clear and honest with our communication. We will always tell you what's going on. If there is a product delay or if there's something happening with the printer that needs to be solved, we let you guys know, because I know a collector community doesn't like to be kept in the dark. Communication is crucial, and we want you to see through our transparency that we're not shaving off the top or trying to take this money home and put it in our pockets. We're putting it back into the game because we want to make the best possible game we can.
Yeah, and something I wanted to mention too is we're really working towards the collectability of the game as well. I know I mentioned earlier that I didn't necessarily grow up playing Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or any of that, but that's not to say that I wasn't collecting all of it, because I have been collecting cards my whole life, and I think that the collectability factor of everything is very important. And that's not to say that you shouldn't play the game. I think that this game is very important to at least try. Um, but if if your thing is, man, I love the art, I think that looks so sick, I want to collect this game, then I think that means we're doing something right. And we really are working on that quality for the players and the collectors. Like, we have plans um, to go out to the printer's factory and check out everything and make sure that everything is like really top tier for everybody. Um, but yeah, I think that's super important, and something that we're really striving for is just something that feels new, it looks good, and it's everything for collectors and players alike.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And part of that also is our print runs, which you'll see that we are transparent about those as well. We tell you how many of each card are in the sets and things like that. And that is our way of showing you that we're paying attention. We're not going to overprint a set to get to the money, which I think is a common mistake in TCGs. Even the big boys, you'll see they might overestimate their audience and print enough cards for everyone, but then that leaves the collectors a little sour because it's the rares aren't that rare. We're definitely paying attention and making sure that our print runs preserve the health of the game and the collector community, even if that means that we're not raking in the same number that we could be. It's more about preservation here, sustainability. So with all that being said, I think at this point, I just want to say that I can't wait for you guys to try the game. I think everybody's going to love it. Come on, hang out in our Discord. We've got links to the Discord. Check out the Learn to Play videos and hit us up. We are within reach. That's a very important thing to us, is to be open with our communication. So shoot us a DM, ask us any questions you may have. If you want to play a game, hit me up. I'll show you how to play personally if you'd like. We're so excited to build a new gaming community, and one that has the attention and love of the creators. We really can't wait to nurture this community and just turn it into an incredible game for the world, for everybody.
And if you have made it this far, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for your continuous support, not just with the Kickstarter, but over the last couple of years. I know it's been a long road, but we've been very dedicated to the project, and I believe you guys will see all that dedication and passion here within the coming months. But thank you guys so much for watching this video and getting to know myself and my fellow co-founders Johnny Dunn and Tessa Jones. And like Johnny said, we are one message away, join our Discord community. It's a beautiful one. and it's constantly growing as well. So join the Discord, follow us on our social medias at World of NomNom. Check out our website, worldofnomnom.com, and with that,
Enjoy the campaign, guys.
enjoy the Kickstarter. Here's to Nam Nom.
We'll see you on the other side, everybody. Thanks for watching.
The Nom Nom verse calls to you. Are you ready? Press start.